Dear listener, ClockTower is intended for mature audiences and might be inappropriate or possibly triggering to some. Many of the themes and events in ClockTower are inspired by weird fiction as well as similar concepts, which means the show can get dark.
If that isn't something you enjoy, please listen at your own discretion. We here at the ClockTower care about you, so please put your mental health first. Our show will be here when you're ready.
Welcome to another episode of ClockTower, a D&D 5e experience. For those of you familiar with 5th edition, keep in mind that all of our players are playing a custom class called the ClockTower Agent. We also play with a lot of house rules in our games that we as a group collectively enjoy. We explain these rules as they come up, so if you're just joining us, you may need to listen to previous episodes just to clear up any confusion. Well, I hope you enjoy this episode, and welcome to the ClockTower. Immediately leaving the detective's office, you go down a long flight of very narrow stairs. There's a handrail, but you kind of feel like if you fell down these stairs, you would pinball off of the walls. They're so small. And you leave through a very tall and narrow door, and you are immediately greeted by the small city sidewalk that has railings on either side, protecting people from immediately walking or falling off of the side of the sidewalk into the waterway that has a nearby bridge that goes over from the side you're on to another side. And there's also a small gate in the railings itself that allow you to go down to a small wooden dock where there are a couple boats that seem to be moored there. And the detective, David, leads you to one of the boats, gets in himself, picking up a very, very long oar that as all of you get into the boats, and he goes, "So let me see if I've got this right. You're Sam, you're Jaeger, you're Reagan, and you're Rock."
That's right.
Spot on.
Yes, sir.
That's us.
It's gonna be a bit to get to the shelter from here, but the waterways are usually the fastest. Especially if there aren't a lot of people out on the water today, but the more and more people go missing, the more people there are trying to shelter inside. So, should be a pretty clear day. And immediately starts rowing through the waterways. And as you do so, you see the intricate, stonework that goes on a lot of the sides of the bridges and underneath them. And you see there's a lot of, patterns of roses everywhere. Specifically, the same symbol keeps showing up, which is a rose with, a setting sun behind it, like a starburst of a sun behind it. And you guys know from your 2 years' knowledge of being here from the ClockTower that symbology is the prevalent religion. And as you're going through, you spend about 30 to 40 minutes on the boat as he's rowing it, which out of your 6 hours seems like a pretty decent amount of time. And when you finally get there, he moors on the side of a small dock. Do you guys, do you want to do or say anything during the boat ride?
Yeah, actually, I have a question.
Sure.
As we're on the boat ride, I'm just sort of looking around the city. Do I see any sort of, odd iconography? Maybe do I see any sort of, almost like a vandalism? Any sort of vandalism that have any strange symbols that I might notice or something?
Do you speak Thieves' Cant?
With 2 years of experience, do I speak Thieves' Cant? No. Then no. I'm just trying to see if I see any odd symbols in any sort of vandalism.
Nothing really sticks out to you. You can roll a perception check.
Okay, I'll do so.
What about the rest of you?
I think Rock would also just be trying to keep an eye out for anything interesting in the city or eye-catching, anything of the like, kind of looking in between the different canalways and parts of the city, kind of keeping an eye out for things. Would I be able to roll a perception check just for...
Yeah, go ahead.
That was a 16 on my end.
9.
Rock, you notice a lot of the architecture. You think it's really pretty. It's really well done, and there's this certain way that the sun is shining on the water as it pours out of a few drains on the sides of the waterway that are sort of you're assuming they're coming from small grooves in sidewalks and parts of the buildings that funnel the water to the waterways themselves. But there's an intricate carving, what looks like a face with the mouth open that the water pours out of, kind of like a gargoyle, but it's a little bit more. It's not scary. It's just a well-carved statue kind of thing. And you got a 16?
16.
You do notice several symbols in like on the sides of a couple buildings and alleyways and things as you were passing. So, like under a bridge, you noticed a symbol or two, but you have no idea what any of them mean.
Detective, could I borrow a piece of paper and a pen or a writing implement?
Well, I have one spare on me. I usually keep it in case of dire circumstances, but if you need it that bad...
Just for a moment, I'll give it right back.
Pulls out from, like, an inner pocket of his jacket a, like, small handheld pocket notebook and a small pen that, like, attaches to it, basically, and he holds it out to you.
Thank you. And I'm going to look at that iconography. I'm going to see if I can, like, sort of jot it down, doodle it down, so I can have that symbol in my head just in case.
All right, you try and copy as many of the symbols as you can. Roll performance.
I can aid you. Do that with advantage.
How are you aiding him and writing them down?
I'm looking over his shoulder along with just like, because I looked out to see the items, just be like, no, it's that. Change that a little bit. There you go. That's what it looked like.
I'm an artiste.
Did you get?
I got a nat 20. Yes.
I don't. Cool.
Yeah, it's you managed to copy them over pretty well. Like with Rock helping you, you took advantage on it, right?
No.
No? Oh, well, in that case, you just do it. You just copy them
Rock
over.
didn't do
They're
anything.
exactly as they are on the different buildings.
For a man that can't read.
Yeah, I
You can
can't
write.
read, but I can draw.
And you can also just copy the symbols. Doesn't necessarily mean you know what they mean, but they're exact copies. So, well done. Anybody else doing anything on the boat ride over?
Or I would like to, as Sam, just really check out the water and see if there's anything under the water, any tunnels that lead down, like anything I can see, like recesses that lead under the water. Or just checking out the water in general, if I can see through it at all.
The roll perception check.
That'll just be a 13.
You do see, like, a few tunnels in parts of the waterways that have, like, they look like they might have had grates over them at one point, but now they don't, and they have, like, little trickles of water going through. That's about all you see. You think, like, someone small might be able to fit in there, but you're not sure.
Like maybe my size or smaller.
Your size could fit in there easily.
Okay.
Do you do anything, Reagan, on the boat ride?
I would like to chat to David.
All right. What do you say? As he's basically just rowing and, like, looking ahead, making sure that the boat's going the right way.
Wait, he's rowing the boat? I want to help him row the boat.
It's just he's only got one oar. It's like
Okay.
a really long oar.
Use
that he's
your hands.
standing up rowing the boat with.
So, do you have any family here?
Me? No. Only family I had died a long time ago. I was an only child, and my parents are dead and buried.
Oh, okay. And you just have the kindness in your heart to help everybody else's families.
Well, sir, I've seen a lot in my life. I've seen a lot of the dark and bad. I know what the world can really do to people. I've seen what can happen when you're on the wrong side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I've personally dealt with those people for a good majority of my life. As I think about it, I'm not proud of everything I've done. I don't know anyone who is. But I realize that even if I wanted to, I can't go back and change any of that. All I have is moving forward, if that makes any sense to you.
It does. Very much so.
So now I try to do the best I can. I don't know if it's me trying to make up for the sins of my own past, or if I've really changed, if I'm just a good person now. But I wonder to myself often, is anyone really a good person? Or is anyone really a bad person? It's hard to know where the line is. But I like to think that I'm trying to stay on the good side. Doing my best. What about you?
I have been asking myself the same question and trying to do the same thing.
That makes a lot of sense. I got that vibe from you. You seem like somebody who's trying to do the right thing. And he looks at Jaeger a little hesitantly and says, looks like some of you have a lot on your minds.
Yeah, we've all been through a lot, but we're here and we're together, which is as good as it can get.
He nods and says, you seem like a good group of people. And continues rowing. Eventually, all of you make it to the small dock that you are able to moor your boat at. And as you make your way up the stone stairs from the small dock and onto the walkways aside the waterway, you see a building that looks like it's been, like, refurbished a little bit recently, but it did so with a budget, if that makes sense. Like, You can tell that parts of it are painted different colors, like different shades of the same paint, and like one of the windows is a little less quality than some of the others. And above the doorway, there is a sign that says Mother of Safety Hope Shelter. And the detective puts both his hands on his hips. After a moment, slides them into his jacket pocket, pulls out a cigar, lights it, and takes like a long drag off it before going, well, this is the place.
Well, let's get inside and see what we can find. Let's ask a few questions, I guess.
Is there normally a lot of people that come here?
To be honest with you, I don't spend a ton of time here. There are a lot of people who volunteer, but I spend the majority of my time looking into missing persons cases, trying to make sure that people get back their stolen items or property, checking in on people who may not be well. That's usually my jobs. This is the biggest case I've had in a very long time, so I can't say that I've been here much. I'll talk to the proprietor if all of you would like to go in and talk to the people, see what any of the people here have to say. I'll see what I can get out of the owner, and we'll meet back here. How's that sound?
Great.
Sure.
Makes sense.
That sounds good.
Excellent. He puts out the cigar on the sole of his shoe and then, like, dusts it off and puts it back in his pocket and then opens the door and heads in.
Well, I guess we should head in too, right?
Question. Should we all go in, like, separately so it seems as if we don't know each other as much? Or just all go together?
I mean, we are in a confined space, so maybe a divide and conquer attempt is not the worst idea. It's not a huge, large area we're going to get lost in, I don't think. Could be wrong.
Shouldn't be, no.
I mean, we're a pretty noticeable and a eclectic bunch either way, so I don't really think it matters if we go in together or separately. For splitting up at least, maybe teams of 2. That way it doesn't seem like 4 people are interrogating a person.
I'm good with that.
Makes sense, yes.
Jaeger, you and me.
Oh,
We
okay.
haven't spent a lot of time together in a while. Some one-on-one friendship time. Rock kind of punches you in the shoulder a little bit.
Ow. Let's go. Just walks inside.
Because you guys did it IRL, I'm going to talk about it because it was a really cute gesture. Sam and Reagan looked at each other, and Reagan snapped their fingers into a finger gun. Like a quick little snap into pointing at Sam with a finger gun, and nodded at Sam.
Oh, me? Well, all right then.
As you all enter in, and you split up into your groups of 2, you notice that there are maybe like 10 people here. A lot of them are either resting in cots that are off to the side or sitting at like a grouping of tables towards the center. Some of them are like playing cards and other people are eating. How would you like to approach the people you're going to speak with? We'll start with Jaeger and Rock.
I could do the game of cards. Sounds fun.
Do you know how to play cards?
Yeah.
Oh. Where did you learn that?
I don't know. You just know it's just cards. You just...
I didn't have much time to play cards.
My path had a lot more free time.
Okay. Yeah.
You learn things as you're going along.
Okay. I will try my best to keep up.
With that, I approach the 2 who are playing cards and sort of give them a nod and say, excuse me, could we be dealt in?
Who are you?
Oh, Jaeger. And I go to like tip a hat, but I don't have one, so I'm like, give him a salute with 2 fingers.
And I go, Rock, and I tip my hat.
I'm Johnson.
Pleasure. Good to meet you.
That's Ralph.
Hey, Ralph.
Hey.
Could we be dealt in?
Well, I guess we could. What do you got to bet?
That's a good question. Rock will dig into their pockets.
You both have like $15 in your pocket, about.
I pull out the 15 and I put it on the table.
All right. I think that's doable. What about you?
Pull out the 15, pull out a 5, put it down, say, we'll see how the first couple hands go.
He squints at you and sucks on his teeth. And Ralph goes and shakes his head. They add your money to the pot all the same, and they deal out handfuls of small pebbles to each of you. Rock gets about 3 times as many pebbles as you do, right, Jaeger? Roll 2d6, both of you.
And is there any way I can use my deception on these rolls at all?
Yeah. You roll a deception check. I will roll an insight check. If you win, you can re-roll one of your dice.
I don't have anything like that.
Deception of 9.
Cool. Would you like to re-roll one of your dice?
I haven't rolled them yet. Give me 1 second. I'll re-roll the 2.
Okay.
Yeah, that's worse.
I got snake eyes.
So, Rock, you lose, and then, you slide a handful of pebbles forward, and then he looks at you, squints, and goes, I call. And you immediately, have that sinking feeling of oh, yikes. And you play your hand, he plays his hand, Rock plays their hand, and then it's over. That hand is done with. All of Rock's money is gone, and 5 out of the 15 of your dollars are gone.
Well, for someone who has very little idea of how to play this game, I went about as well as I expected.
That made a lot of sense. And then I pull up my $10, give you 5,
This is not a wise idea, but I will take it.
and then put my 5 down and push it to the middle.
All right, that's better. I got 7.
They got 5.
Woo!
You guys overall beat them in that hand of poker, and they look disgruntled. And I would say that kind of sets the pace for how playing cards goes with them. They kind of keep winning, and then they lose enough that they want to play another hand to try and win their money back. And it ends up, before you know it, you guys are talking while you're playing a good amount. What do you end up asking them? What questions would you like to slide into the casual conversation?
I'll believe him.
I'm trying to think what's a good question to ask that isn't super confrontational about the issue.
How's things around town lately? It seems like there's a lot less people out at the moment.
They respond to your question not in a single answer, and they'll respond to this system of questions, not in direct answers, but things. This is basically what you are gleaning from them as the conversation is casually taking its course. So you guys don't have to worry so much about how you're wording each question, just a question of what you generally, what general information would you like to subtly try and get out of them. So as the game progresses, you glean the idea that they're kind of scared about being on the street right now. They talk about how they used to have an alleyway that they called their alleyway. It was their home. They had a pretty nice setup that they had made out of some scavenged beds, scavenged bedding, and they'd built a little overhang roof and everything like that. And even peacekeepers didn't really bother them where they were at. They were fine. And they would play cards with people on the street who would come by. But now, recently, specifically in the last week, 2 of their friends have gone missing. Just don't come around. Would play cards with them every week, almost every day. And they were they talk about how they were specifically, one of them was a young guy who was studying at one of the nearby schools and would come and stop and play cards with them every day. And he never bet much. He bet basically the equivalent of $2 or $3. And that was his bet that he played. And he played pretty quick hands and lost really quickly. But the guys really liked him. They called him the book nerd. And there was another girl who would play cards with them and would try to win, but was really bad at cards. And so she would just lose occasionally. And they were pretty sure she lived nearby because they would see her occasionally walking and she wouldn't always come play cards with them. But both of those 2 people did not come by in 2 weeks. And they only recently realized that the girl's name was Emily and that she is confirmed missing in one of the papers. And they've heard about it, and now people are starting to be scared of being out on the street alone. And even these 2, they don't want to be. They've been here where there's walls and a door, and there's other people around almost always.
Rock would kind of maybe lean into a question to ask them if during the nighttime they've heard anything maybe out of the ordinary or just any haunting feelings, I suppose.
They're very you get the feeling both of them are very superstitious. They think that there's an urban legend around. It's called the Shadow Man, and it's this long elongated shadow who lives in the nightmares of downtrodden people, who is like, it's kind of like an urban myth about depression. Like, the myth goes that it like overshadows you and it's always behind you and it like never leaves until eventually it takes you. And that's one of the things that they talk about, how like the people who are like them and live on the streets, who eventually, unfortunately, end up like either going out in their sleep or going out by their own hand. They don't talk about it in like terms of they froze to death or they committed suicide. It is almost always that the Shadow Man got them. And you're not sure if that's like a colloquial like way of trying to lighten hard situations, like hard things to talk about for them, or if it's something that they actually believe. But when you start talking about like, is there any reason not to be out on the street at night, it's the Shadow Man. You don't go out on the street at night because of the Shadow Man. It'll get you.
My other question was, and I would segue into this as we're like going
right. As I said before, I'm assuming that all of your questions are not direct questions or like out of left field. They're like, you're kind of throwing out little questions to try and get to the main thing you're trying to ask. So just for the sake of time, for the sake of podcast, and to get to the other two's turn in an orderly fashion.
Has any of the graffiti or anything like that on any of the walls in town been new or changed or had like a different look?
Are you going to show them your paper?
Yeah, I would say I'm doing some drawings of stuff that I've seen around town, and I was just wondering if any of this stuff is new.
Cool. Because this is going to give you such an answer, I'm going to count this as the last of your... Do you have another question you would like to field?
The question was, because I know the main religion is due to like the love god and whatnot. I was going to ask if there's any like other smaller religions that maybe aren't as talked about as much or anything
They
like
really
that.
don't. There's not really another religion. However, it's good to end your conversation with them on you showing them the notebook. 'Cause as you show them the notebook, because you're talking about like symbols you saw around town, and that you actually jotted a few of them down. One of them is like, well, let me see it. I know a lot about symbols. I know how to read. And Ralph's like, he does know how to read.
That's great.
And he's like, wait. And he takes the notepad that David gave you, and he looks at it, and he goes, oh yeah, no, this is all easy. This one means that this person lives in a nice home and that they'll let you stay there for the night, but only one night. This one means that if you're hungry, they'll give you food. This one is, watch out, there's wild animals around here, come and take your things. This one, and he goes through all of them, and he kind of talks about how a lot of them are just shorthand for people to know what's safe and what isn't, and where to go, where not to go, where's a good place to sleep, where's too often patrolled, etc., etc., etc. And he goes through a lot of the symbols that you jotted down, except for one that he points at, and he goes, never seen this one before, though. This one's new. And you look at it, and it is like a really narrow V, like a plunging, curved two lines that go into a V. And on either side, there are like two spirals.
Almost like, in my head, I'm just imagining it almost looks like a monarch butterfly face sort of thing.
It almost reminds you of like a cow skull or a goat skull.
Yeah.
In like, that would be simplified into lines.
Okay. All right.
And you saw this one a couple of times. Primarily near canals and like small waterway turnoffs that lead down like narrow lanes to other places.
Where it's super easy for someone to get ambushed if they did.
More like really out of the way passageways.
All right, boys. Thank you. It's been a pleasure playing with you.
And they go, yeah, absolutely. It's been, you seem like good folks. Don't let the Shadow Man get you. You know what?
Not.
Things get hard. You two can make it. I know you can.
We will make sure.
You got the stuff.
We will make sure to stay far away.
I make sure I give them both a good handshake and.
They give you. One of them gives you a hug.
That's nice.
Are we talking about hugs?
Mm-hmm. And they give you hugs after playing cards with them for like 30, 40 minutes. You seem to have made pretty good friends with them, and they seem to live lives where it's hard to come by nice people on the best of days. And the fact that you guys just sat down with them, played cards, and didn't. You reminded them of some of the people that haven't been coming around anymore. They seem like they honestly just want to make sure you're okay when you leave. And Jaeger, you specifically, the bigger, more brash one of them, it seemed like when he was telling not to let the Shadow Man get you, he was talking mainly to you.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Reagan and Sam.
All right, Reagan. So what kind of questions do you want to ask? I'm mainly interested in just figuring out. Well, okay. So on the canal ride over here, right? I just kept trying to look at like the water, and I saw these grates that I feel like I could fit through, and they were open for some reason. I just want to figure out if people there's like tunnels or something,
Yeah.
places that people might disappear to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's really odd. We should definitely ask about that. If anybody knows anything about them.
Right. Or if they're like a common passageway.
Yeah. Do you have any questions? I was thinking about maybe religion.
Yeah. I feel like that might be a good line to go down, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to lead? I mean, I can seem more friendly to people, but it only lasts like a minute, and then they're gonna know.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? You've got this. And then Sam's gonna bump you and cast guidance.
So unfortunately, they sat down with the people playing cards. There's like a small group of people eating, and then a couple people sleeping. Where are you guys going?
Time to feast.
We're gonna go sit down next to the people who are eating.
Question, do you go get food at the counter first, or do you just sit down at the people eating?
You ever just had a nice warm meal and some random stranger just plops next to you? Hello.
Sam is going to... what are they serving, actually?
They're serving the same thing they usually serve, which is stew made out of any sort of like scrap bits from the butcher that is nearby, and a couple vegetables that they throw into a pot and they stew for several hours and they ladle that out. This is not like the most modern homeless shelter ever, but they are serving warm food to people for nothing. So
Do they have water?
They do.
Then Sam would just take a thing of water.
Okay.
Actually, grab 2 and hand 1 to Reagan.
So you guys sit down and have water nearby some of the people eating.
Yes.
Okay. How are you going about this?
Well, are the people talking at all?
They seem like they're kind of like they're eating next to each other, like they may know each other, but they're not really talking amongst themselves. They're kind of just like relaxing, eating. They look kind of bummed, for lack of a better word. They're just kind of like hanging out.
Sam is gonna kind of lean across the table. I imagine Reagan and Sam are sitting across the table from each other. And Sam's gonna kind of lean across the table, but also in a diagonal towards another person, and kind of say, "Have y'all been safe lately?"
Roll charisma check.
Just straight charisma.
Would you like to add a different skill to it?
Well, probably not deception, so yeah.
No, yeah.
Performance.
Performance works if you want to try and throw some flair on it.
Slide in. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just charisma.
I'd rather take a +5 than a +2.
Yeah. It's very car salesman-esque approach, but yeah.
That'll be a 21.
Jesus. They are immediately off-put by the, like, Sam sliding up with, like, dramatic flair and leaning over and asking if they've been safe lately. And they're almost so, like, taken aback by Sam's confidence that they, like, are unsure of their answer for a moment. As one of the girls says, yeah, it's why we're here. And one of the other guys says, yeah, this is one of the safest places.
Right. I heard there's some more than 10 people, right?
The girl goes, it's 10 now? And the guy says, 10 people. Where'd you get the other 2? Last we heard. And he like looks at the girl and she like nods with a little bit of a reassuring, like, yeah, no, that's right. As he goes, there's only 5 of the regulars around here have gone missing.
I mean, I just heard from kind of a Peace Corps patrol talking about, I mean, they're thinking about just, I mean, you've heard the stay-at-home orders.
Roll a deception check. Was there stay-at-home orders? Did I mention that?
Yes. You said people were staying in their homes.
Yeah, it was more like people were staying in their homes just to keep off the streets, but like it
I
wasn't.
mean, I'll roll anyways. I mean, I don't mind.
Well, you're gonna need to roll a thing regardless. But
Your deception is good.
My deception and my performance are the same thing.
yeah, roll with a +5.
That's a 17.
Oh, we hadn't heard of any orders, but it's good to know that the peace officers are doing something about it.
Yeah.
We just, what with the how hard winter was, we assumed just the Shadow Men got a lot of them.
Right.
And you guys, through your own conversations, they also talk about the Shadow Man.
Does the Shadow Man like to creep around the tunnels?
The girl thinks that you're confused and goes, Shadow Man's not really real. And the guy, like, doesn't look like he necessarily agrees with her, but also realizes that, like, yeah, no, it's not.
It's real and not real.
It's not really, like, it's like a metaphor. And the girl is like, it's just what we say when people, and the guy's like, you don't need it's fine.
But a lot of people get,
it's a really hard life when you're on the outs, you know? When sometimes you just can't get work and things are hard.
yeah.
Some people can't take it, and that's, you know what? I understand. I just miss them.
Absolutely. I don't mean to pry while there is a kind of a collective sadness in the air, but has there been anything weird about the canals lately? Maybe tunnels, if they're used?
Well, the canals aren't safe. Nobody stays in the canals, because if the water level rises, then it's over. You get washed into the reservoir, and it's over. Unless you were fish.
Right. But, so there are no tunnels that run beneath?
No, the water level would wash anything out. It rises to the point where some shops have to bucket their shops out.
Anything that did go through those tunnels would be in the reservoir.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. I think my friend might have a couple questions, but just stay safe.
Hello.
Hi. Hey. The girl waves.
Yeah, my friend and I are a little bit new to the town, and we've been hearing about the worrying stories, and
He like takes a huge slurp of soup while you're talking. Just like they're in the middle of eating, and they're not gonna like wait.
I don't know, it's worrying me to the point of I'm thinking about purpose and stuff like that. How do you guys find your purpose in all of this to keep the Shadow Man away?
Well, sometimes we'll all get together in like a big group, and we'll find a bunch of scavenged wood, and everybody kind of brings something, and we'll burn it all in a big fire, and we'll tell stories, and sometimes somebody will manage to get a drink or two, and we'll all kind of lighten up a little bit and have a good time around a fire. I mean, it's sometimes just knowing you're not alone is all you need. Sometimes, other times I like to write. I make up stories in my head. I write them down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. They're not very good, but not everybody can write, you know? It's a gift.
Yes, absolutely.
And the girl goes, they're really good. I really like his stories. He tells me sometimes when we're gonna go sleep. I like them a lot. And the guy blushes, and the girl looks at him, and he goes, no, they're not that great. And you kind of sense like a little bit of something going on there, but the guy looks real shy.
Aww. And do you guys have any religion in your lives?
The girl smiles and goes, of course. I believe in the goddess of love. May you have a lovely day. And she smiles at you. And the guy goes, may its warmth be with you. And like smiles at the girl. The girl smiles at him. And she's like, I love you. And he's like, oh, I love you too. And there's like this hesitance that like he actually does though. He doesn't know if she just does or if she's just the whole fucking that she's just being that it's just her religion. He's like not sure.
Yeah.
He has no idea. No, confused man.
Help!
Oh. And he's like way too nervous to ask. Why did we get the disgruntled old man?
They were nice. Shut up. Leave them alone. They did their best.
They did their best.
And do you guys know I'm sorry if this is a hard question to answer. If the religion is shared between everybody, including the people who may have...
The Shadow Man.
Reagan nods.
The girl replies and says, Some of them had the faith and other ones didn't. Why?
Just trying to see if it helps at all.
It does for me, but I don't think it does for everyone. You know? Sometimes people think that it's all they need or could need, and sometimes it's gotta come from inside, you know? Sometimes that strength's gotta be your strength. That's what I believe. I think it's nice. And the guy goes, I think you're nice. She goes, you're nice too.
This
He
poor...
goes, thanks.
This man needs more help than the missing persons.
I'm gonna make a personal roll really quick.
Go for it.
This could end really badly. Oh god. But I want to do it.
Do it.
It's something Sam would do. Sam is going to lean over the table and kind of lock eyes with him and just kind of touch his hand for a moment and be like, hey man, I believe in you. And I'm going to cast suggestion on him.
What are you going to suggest?
I'm going to suggest that once we leave and it's a more quiet spot, that he take the next step and actually ask her.
Oh.
What's the save?
DC 13.
Wisdom save.
Please roll low.
If he by chance succeeded the save, does he know you tried to cast magic on him?
Oh, cat.
Yeah. Well, let me double check it really quick. Sometimes you just try and do a good thing, and it fucks you over.
You could ClockTower dice their roll.
And you are the only one within range of them.
Oh. No, yeah, if you got a 6, it would...
We could both do it and add our scores.
Yeah, because there's two situations. Either you make it succeed and things are okay, or this man realizes that magic has been cast on him, and in a world where that's just not a thing, he's gonna freak the fuck out.
No,
It's not like friendship, right?
No, it's not like friendship.
Okay, then you're fine. Do you want to just have
Okay.
it? Do you want to ClockTower dice it?
No, I'm just gonna. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just, hey, I believe in you.
Okay.
Okay, great.
The guy looks at you and is like, I can't tell her how I really feel. What if she says no? I don't want to get rejected. Thank you, stranger, but no. And he like does his thing where he takes his hand away really fast.
Well, I think if you have any more questions.
No, just make sure you guys stay safe out there.
They look at each other and they go, we will.
Don't let the Shadow Man get you.
They nod, and the girl goes, may you both have a lovely day.
And may the warmth be with you as well.
She smiles and looks so happy that you said that back to her. After all of you are done talking to the people in the shelter, you eventually make your way outside, where you find David Henry waiting for you. He is already smoking again, and he looks back and goes, so, what did all of you find out?
Jaeger.
Right. So we actually got a couple things. One, I don't know if you guys have heard the urban legend around here of the Shadow Man, but apparently it seems like it's some sort of either it's actually a thing, or it's a way to lighten the load of some of the worst things that go down when you're stuck out in the open with nowhere to go.
I've heard of the Shadow Man before. It's an urban legend. Man who takes you when you're at your lowest moments.
I've gotten all of these symbols explained, and I flipped through the entire book of pictures I've drawn, except for this one. And this one I've seen around town on our way here frequently, and out of the way canals and things like that.
Did you say canals?
Not canals, but like out of the way waterways.
Right, waterways. But
Yeah.
that's interesting. A lot of what we got from is that they don't like staying in the waterways because a lot of stuff gets washed down to the basin. Anything that would disappear, or if you were gonna die, you would end up down there. And 5 of their regulars aren't coming back.
That's interesting, because I checked with the owner of the shelter to try and get names and lists of people who may or may not have been coming in or not coming in recently, and I cross-referenced it with my list, and none of the 5 names that they gave me are any of the people on my list of 10.
Oh.
Which means there's more.
Which means there's 15 missing people so far. Hi, Ellie again. Thank you for listening. As always, I'd like to thank our producer, Who's, at who's.music, and our Dead Air team, Cal, for making these episodes what they are. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Alpha Lupine Images, for donating the equipment to help us make more content with better quality. Thank you to Darbii, Cal, Parker, Trent for their great performances. As always, thanks again for listening. We're so glad to be back. I fucking didn't rewrite any of this outro. But you know what? We are glad to be back. I hope everyone's enjoying the Valance arc. The next episode's out on the 35th of November. That's wrong. We release on a bi-weekly basis, so episode 35 will be out on November 12th. Until then, time's ticking. See you in the clock tower.